ይህ ሃለሉያ ቴለቪዥን ነው።
ከሰማያት በላይ ከከፍታ በላይ ትልቅ ነህ፣ ከትልቅም በላይ ኢየሱስ
ሃለሉያ ቴሌቪዥን የጌታችን የኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ የምስራች ወንጌል የሚያበስር ቴሌቪዥን ጣቢያ ነው። ሃለሉያ ቴሌቪዥን ሃሌሉያ ቴሌቪዥን
ከሰማያት በላይ ከከፍታ በላይ ትልቅ ነህ፣ ከትልቅም በላይ ኢየሱስ ይበላል። የአምላክ ዋጋው
هون شوف كيف هون ما في هون ورق
من زمان يعني ولا؟
لا هذا من يومين
طيب ممكن بقرا مرة ثانية بالآية أنا بعرفها بالإنجليزي معليش إذا بقرا بالإنجليزي
ما مشكلة.
Okay. Our Father is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come and your will be done in the body of Ibrahim. في الاسم المسيح. آمين. أنا صليت الملكوت الله تعالى على الأرض بنفس الطريق زي السماوات.
إن شاء الله.
في شيء فرق أو لسه في وجه؟
إن شاء الله.
طيب ما في؟ عن جد؟ ولا إشي؟
ولا إشي.
عن جد he said there's no more pain. Really?
Really?
عن جد ما في إشي. Before I moved to the Middle East, I didn't know Muslims. I didn't grow up in a city that had Muslims. First time I saw a Muslim was on CNN on 9/11. So I had a very one-sided view where Islam to me was extremism. There was no difference. And that changed a few months after I moved to the Muslim world. I was walking down the road and there was a young man walking towards me. He was a young, really religious man. Sheikh is what they call them, and wearing the traditional gown, wearing a skull cap, his beard really long, his mustache shaved. You know, I see him and I have all of these prejudices and these preconceived notions about people who look like him. And as we were walking past one another, our eyes met, and I had a moment in my life, a very significant moment, where I saw an open vision. And in that vision, I saw this young man's life the years before. I saw that for years he had studied all these books, really with an earnest, sincere desire to know God. Studying these books day and night, and never did he actually find the way to God. No one ever told him. Right there on the street, I was just moved to the core of my being, because I thought, that man, I judged him for being some extremist, when all he had was a sincere desire for God, and no one that ever told him how to find him. Well, I always wanted to be a missionary because when I was a kid, all my friends wanted to be firefighters and cops, but I wanted to be a sumo wrestler and missionary to Japan because then I thought I could reach the lost people of Japan as well as eat whatever I want. So that was really the first intrigue. And the second one, I was 14 and I watched an Oprah Winfrey after-school special about street children in Eastern Europe, and I wept for 2 hours. 2 hours just weeping. My mother comes home, says, "What's happening?" I said, "I don't know, I was watching Oprah." And then that was the moment where I thought, I'm called to missions. And then again, when I was 16, I had a dream where the Lord spoke to me about the Arab world. Yeah, I came as a 20-year-old fully anticipating to be the next Heidi Baker. Yeah, I was pretty convinced I was the next big thing, and everyone was just really privileged to meet me. But the reality is I got here and I became so aware of my own darkness, my own issues, my own need for Jesus. And really, I became aware of how little I knew Jesus. I'm living in a nation where everyone believes in God, but no one actually, or very few actually know who Jesus is. So a few months after living here, I had this dream, and in this dream, I am an old man, and I'm telling these people a story. And I'm telling them the story about Jesus as if I had walked with him in my younger years, in the flesh. And I'm telling them about the sound of his voice, the tone of his voice when he spoke. And I'm telling them about the calluses on his hands, these rough hands that have known work, that were so familiar to me. And I told him about his scent when he walked into the room, that he smelled like, I remember in this dream, he smelled like sawdust and a hard day's work. And it was such a familiar thing. And I began to tell these people about these natural attributes of Jesus, that Jesus was a man with natural attributes like anyone else I knew. And I woke up from that dream and I was so moved because I thought, I don't know that man. My whole life I've said I've known that man. Even today, I've given up everything for that man, and yet I don't really even know him. And I realized then that before I could share Jesus with people who don't know him, I had to know him myself, and I had to meet him. And so my first probably 2 years in the field were actually just meeting Jesus. What does it mean to know a man, to serve a God who took on flesh, who actually walked on the earth, to know his ways, to know his characteristics? That was what it was, and it helped to be in the Middle East, because Jesus was a Middle Eastern man. In my Western thinking, I'm so much about the task, save the nations, do this, train these people, send them out. Jesus was about relationships. Middle Easterners about relationships. Yeah, there's a goal. What's important is the people you interact with between the beginning and the end. And seeing that goal, and that's what it was for me, is learning, what does it mean that Jesus always stopped for people on the road? And you realize that there's not a very big gap between you and them. There's the same things that there were before I knew Jesus. Before I knew Jesus, I had all these ideas about God, all these ideas about religion, but I didn't know about the personal nature of him. And it's the same for that Muslim man, and you start talking about these things, and you start breaking it down, and you realize that between you and him is just a small space. It's the space of one man. It's the space of Jesus. Jesus fits in that space. That at the end of the day, between you and him, the only thing that's missing is Jesus.
سلامتك كثير وجع.
تعرف أنا بقرأ عليه ناس يعني من الكتاب، إذا بدك ممكن بقرأ عليك عشان الوجع، أطلب من الله الشفاء إذا بدك.
إمتى؟
هلا إذا بدك.
هلا مو مشكلة. هون؟
مش مشكلة. لا خلي. شو اسمك؟ أنا نسيت.
أنا اسمي إبراهيم.
إبراهيم، أنا ميخا.
أهلا ميخا.
أهلا. طيب لا
فوت لجوا عشان
شو زي ما بدك.
لا احنا عشان شارع.
لا معليش.
هون بس. اوف كثير. جيب لك كرسي؟ لا.
يا الله، أنا بطلب للشفاء بأخي إبراهيم باسم المسيح. في شيء فرق أو شيء هيك من الوجه؟ فيش. خفيف لسه في وجع أو مش خفيف يعني من الأول كان صعب، إنه هلا خفيف ولا
مو صعب.
بس هلا؟
صعب كثير.
لسه.
شوف.
يا عمي سلامتك رحت على الدكتور؟
لا
لسه
لا لا
ماشي
إيه.
إيه.
كثير وجع هون هون شوف كيف هون
أيوة،
ما في
ما في
شيء.
شيء.
هون ورا
من
ورا.
زمان يعني ولا
لا هذا من يومين
من يومين؟
من يومين
طيب ممكن بقرا مرة ثانية بالآية أنا بعرفها بالإنجليزي معليش بس بقرا بالإنجليزي.
ما مشكلة.
Okay. Our Father is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come and your will be done in the body of Ibrahim. في الاسم المسيح. آمين. أنا صليت الملكوت الله تعالى على الأرض بنفس الطريق زي السماوات.
إن شاء الله.
في شيء فرق أو لسه في وجع؟
إن شاء الله.
طيب ما في؟ عن جد؟ ولا إشي؟
ولا شيء.
عن جد he said there's no more pain. Really?
وين؟
عن جد ما في إشي.
وين؟
لا مش مني بتعرف شو صار؟
عن جد؟
I said really?
عن جد ميخا.
بتعرف شو صار؟
انت
اسمع.
جود فريند.
لا اسمع يا أخي اسمع. عشان الله بحبك
الحمد لله.
والله بشوفك
ميخا.
بشوف الوجه. عليك عمي. واو أنا فرحان جدا عشان الله بحبك.
الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. واو عن جد ما فيش وجع.
عن
واو
جد.
واو. It looks like the swelling. نشكر الله.
شوف ميخا.
He's just amazed.
ما كان فيه.
لا he said before he couldn't do that.
ما كان فيه هيك.
آمين يا رب. نشكر الله. نشكر الله. لا نشكر الله مش أنا.
ثانك يو.
بتعرف أنت
ميخا والله ما في وجع.
He swears to God there's no pain. واو نشكر الله. بتعرف في القرآن وفي الإنجيل دائما سيدنا عيسى المسيح بعمل معجزة.
بعمل معجزة نعم.
أيوه. فزي هيك ومكتوب في الإنجيل للناس هم نؤمن يعني مؤمنين عن جد
مؤمنين نعم.
في الله
نعم.
راح يعمل نفس المعجزة زي سيدنا عيسى باسم المسيح.
الحمد لله.
الحمد لله والله هو بيشوفك وهو واو نشكر الله نشكر الله.
الحمد لله.
الحمد لله.
انت من زمان تعال.
أنا آسف أنا متأخر. He said I came late. He said I should have come earlier. Wow. I think the challenge of my life that is all I could offer to others is the challenge of Isaiah 53, that Jesus endured it all, that Jesus alone, he's the only man in all of history who is able to live a perfect life, never sin, although being tempted in every way, never giving in to the pressures of life, never becoming offended at anyone, never at all being upset or harboring anger, even though all that he endured, all the injustice, that he is worth everything we have to give him, that he alone is worth it all, that it's not a burden to follow Jesus. His leadership in our life isn't a burden, but it's in fact the greatest blessing. And that we would throw off the idea that it's hard to follow Jesus. That when we follow his leadership, he's worth our yes. He's worth us saying, no matter what it costs, you endured it all. There's nothing I will endure. There's nothing I will feel. And there's nothing I will experience that he has not experienced already. That he will not be able to say, I know what that feels like. And in the knowledge of the kindness of his heart, it's easy to go on, no matter the cost.
Wow, that was the best. Woo, that messed him up.
Yeah, he was like, his eyes, just like,
Did you see?
he looks at you, he's like, well, he just said, there's nothing. There's nothing. And I was like, what do you mean? Like nothing happened? And he's like, no, there's nothing.
was a secret chord David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and a major lift, the baffle king composing hallelujah, 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 favorite strong, but you need to prove. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to a kitchen chair, she broke a thumb and she cut your hair. From your lips she drew hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before. I know this room and I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya. I've seen your flag on the marble arch. Love is not a victory march, it's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Maybe there's a God above, but all I ever learned from love was how to shoot at someone who outdrew you. It's not a cry you can hear at night, it's not someone who has seen the light, it's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah。介紹我今晚嘅特別嘉賓張敬軒。I did my best and it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth, I didn't come to fool ya. And even though it all went wrong, I stand before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah,
ይህ ሃሌሉያ ቴሌቪዥን ነው።
ከሰማያት በላይ ከከፍታ በላይ ትልቅ ነህ ከትልቅም በላይ ኢየሱስ
ሃሌሉያ ቴሌቪዥን የጌታችን የኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ የምስራች ወንጌል የሚያበስር ቴሌቪዥን ጣቢያ ነው። ሃሌሉያ ቴሌቪዥን ሃሌሉያ ቴሌቪዥን
ከሰማያት በላይ ከከፍታ በላይ ትልቅ ነህ ከትልቅም በላይ